Question number 1. Which feature indicates that a root hair cell is from a plant and not an animal? Now we can clearly see that there is only one option that is present in a plant cell as well as an animal but not in an animal cell, which is B, which is the cell wall. So B is the first answer. Cell membrane, chloroplast and cytoplasm all are also present in an animal, so they are not the correct option. Question number 2. Which process needs energy from respiration? Movement of carbon dioxide into alveoli, no, that is diffusion. Movement of oxygen into red blood cells, that is also diffusion. Uptake of glucose by cells in the villi, yes, this is by active transport. C is the answer. Uptake of water by root hair cells, which is D, is incorrect because it is done by the process of osmosis. The diagram shows the result of an experiment. The liquid in the glass tube had risen to point X after 3 hours. Now we can see the diagram over here as well. Now the concentration of water of solution in the bag is 0.2 moles per decimeter cube. Now let's see the options. In a second experiment, which change could be made to cause liquid to rise higher than X? This means they are telling us which change will result in more water to move from the beaker into the bag so that the water levels rises from X. Now let's look at the options. A larger beaker, no, that would not increase osmosis. A smaller bag, that would also not make any difference. Water in the bag, no, that if you put water in the bag instead of solution, no osmosis would occur as water potential would be equal on both sides. 0.4 moles per decimeter cube sucrose solution in the bag. Now this is the correct answer because if we increase concentration of solution inside the bag, the water potential inside the bag decreases and more osmosis would occur, increasing the level which has risen to X to even more. Question number 4. In an enzyme reaction, where is the active site and where are the lock and the key? Now as we know, active site is present on the enzyme, lock is also on the enzyme, and substrate is the key. So A would be the answer. This diagram represents a cross section of a part of a leaf as seen using a microscope. The diagram represents a cross section of part of a leaf as seen using a microscope. Where does translocation, movement of sucrose and amino acids occur? We know translocation occurs in the phloem, and as we can see over here, B is being marked as the phloem, so B is the correct answer. The diagram shows an experiment to find the rate of photosynthesis in an aquatic plant in different conditions. Which plant produces the most bubbles per minute? Now as we can see, there are two factors which are being changed. One is adding ice to the water, which decreases temperature, and secondly moving the lamp closer to the plant, which increases light intensity. So we know most bubbles would be produced when photosynthesis would be occurring at the greatest rate, and photosynthesis occurs at the greatest rate at a higher temperature. So the ones with ice are wrong. And secondly, when the lamp is closer to the tube, the light intensity increases and photosynthesis also increases. So B is the correct answer. Question 7. The student grows seeds in 4 different test tubes. Tube W contains all the mineral ions needed for healthy plant growth. The diagram shows the appearance of these seedlings after 2 weeks. What do tubes X, Y, and Z contain? Now, X has little growth and growth is associated with nitrate ions. So X lacks nitrate ions. Y has poor growth and yellow leaves. This means due to yellow leaves, the presence of yellow leaves indicates that it does not have magnesium ions. And Z, hardly any growth, it means it has been supplied with water, not with either nitrate ions nor magnesium ions. So fixing on this criteria, C is the correct option. With X, all minerals except nitrate. Y, all minerals except magnesium, and Z for water. Which type of molecule is used to synthesize glycogen? Now we know that glycogen is synthesized from simpler sugars, so C is the answer. 9. What is most likely to cause rickets? Now as we know, rickets are caused due to the lack of calcium in our body, so it has to be something associated with milk, etc. A diet of meat low in wholemeal, cereal and grain products. Now this is related to lack of protein, so it is wrong. A diet of polished rice, no, this is also wrong as it is related to starch, related to carbohydrates. A diet lacking in fresh fruit with only overcooked vegetables. Now this results, this is a diet which supplies us with vitamin C, not calcium, so this is also incorrect. Now D, a diet low in dairy products and eggs, and little exposure to sunlight. Now this is the correct option, D part for ninth. Alright, question 10. The diagram shows a structure that forms part of the wall of the alimentary canal. Now we can clearly see this is the villi. Which part of the alimentary canal is the structure found? Now we know villi is found in the ileum, so B is the correct option. Now question 11. The following paragraph describes water uptake by roots. The root hair cells have dash cell walls to allow them to absorb water. Now this has to be permeable because of the root hair cells having permeable cell walls is water being allowed to be absorbed. Cell cytoplasm has a dash water potential than soil. Of course, the cell cytoplasm has a lower water potential than the soil, only then the water moves by number 3 osmosis from soil to the root hair cell. Now we know 3 is osmosis, as water moves only by osmosis, not by diffusion nor by active transport. So fitting on this criteria, C is the correct option. Question 12. The diagram shows the pathway of water molecules through part of a leaf seen under a microscope in transverse section. Where does water evaporate? Alright. Now we know that water first moves from palisade mesophyll cells into spongy mesophyll cells, and then on the layer of thin film of moisture of the spongy mesophyll cells, the water evaporates and moves into the air spaces, which can clearly be seen, that is labeled as C. So C is the correct option. D is not correct because water has already left the plant by D. Kind of. The diagram shows the right side of the human heart when the ventricle is relaxed, which so correctly describes the positions of valve X and valve Y when the ventricle contracts. Now, when the ventricle contracts, the blood is not supposed to go back into the atrium, which is from the pathway where valve X is present. So we know that valve X would be closed, while the blood will pass through the pathway where valve Y is present. So valve X would be closed, while valve Y would be opened, and B would be the correct option. The diagram, the diagram shows the blood pressure of a person at rest as the blood leaves the heart and passes through the arteries and then capillaries. Which line shows the pressure of blood as it flows through veins before returning to the heart? Now we know as the blood travels more and more, over time its pressure will decrease because it will have traveled more distance. So we will go for the option which shows the blood pressure is continuously decreasing, which is portrayed by option D over here. So D is the correct answer, as when the blood reaches the heart, it is at its lowest pressure. The diagram shows a section through part of a vein. What could be the first organs found in the direction 1 and 2? Alright, I think I've already explained this question in the last exam, but let's do it again. Now, as we can see, the blood always is going to pass from under the valve, not from above. From the direction of 1 to 2, the blood will pass from below the valve. So this means that the blood is traveling from 2 to 1. So let's see. If 2 is the liver and 1 in the intestine, is there a blood vessel? Is there a vein in our body that carries blood from liver to the intestine? No. So B is incorrect. Is there a vein in our body that carries blood from heart to kidney? No. That is an artery. So C is also incorrect. Is there a vein in our body that carries blood from heart to lung? No. That is the pulmonary artery, which is not a vein. So D is also incorrect, which leaves us only with A, as blood travels from the brain back to the heart in a vein, through a vein. So A is the correct answer. Which chemicals are produced in anaerobic respiration by yeast cells? Now we know during anaerobic respiration by yeast cells, alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced. Lactic acid is produced in humans, and carbon dioxide and water is not produced. And alcohol and lactic acid, again, B and D are already incorrect because lactic acid is only produced in humans. C is incorrect because yeast also produces alcohol. So A is the correct answer. Two people of equal body mass do the same amount of exercise. One person is in good health, the other person has emphysema. The rate of oxygen entering each person's blood in the lungs is measured. The results are shown in the table. Now we can see the person infected with emphysema has received way less oxygen than the healthy person, Which statement explains these results? The person has a faster breathing rate. The healthy person has a faster breathing rate. The healthy person has a smaller lung volume. The person with emphysema has damaged alveoli. The person with emphysema has larger alveoli. Now, if the person with emphysema had larger alveoli, he would have received more oxygen. So D is incorrect. The healthy person has a faster breathing rate. Now, this cannot be quick. This cannot be correct as well, as if he had a faster breathing rate. He's already told us that there is equal mass, body mass, and equal amount of exercise. So A is not quite good. So A is also not fit for the answer. The healthy person has a smaller lung volume. If a healthy person had a small lung volume, he would have gained less oxygen than the person with emphysema. So B is also incorrect, leaving us with only C, saying that emphysema, the person infected with this disease, has damaged alveoli, which is correct because that's the reason he absorbed less oxygen. Now, question 18. The table shows the effect of exercise on the rate and depth of breathing. Alright, we can see the table. What is the increase in the volume of air exchange per minute after exercise compared to at rest? Alright, so at rest there are 12 breaths per minute and the volume of each breath is 500. So we would multiply 12 by 500 and minus that with 24 into 1000. We would multiply 24 into 1000. Whatever answer we get, we would subtract that from 12 into 500, and the answer we get would be 18,000, which is C. As 12 is the breaths per minute, and the table shows how many which volume of oxygen we are taking in per breath. So we will have to multiply them to calculate the amount of oxygen we inhaled. The diagram shows the human urinary system, which structure is the urethra. A is the kidney, B is the ureter, D is the bladder, and C is the urethra. So C is the correct option. 20. The diagram shows some of the structures seen in a section through human skin. What is the function of structure X? Now we can clearly see X is a receptor and its function is to detect changes in temperature, not to receive impulses from the central nervous system, neither to cause capillaries to constrict nor to stimulate sweat glands. Its function is to detect changes in temperature, so B is the correct option.